Hello, everyone. So, good morning for some people, and good afternoon for some people, and obviously, uh, good night, good evening, I guess. So, today we are going to talk about a very important topic, which is lead generation. And there are multiple channels that we can actually see and use to generate more leads for our law firms or business in general. So I was going to, oh, by the way, I'm really sorry. I had to do this live yesterday, but I, I just didn't do it. For some reason, I got busy, but uh, better be late than never. So let's begin. So I was basically going through this article where uh, I was talking about basically I saw people projecting the growth of a law firm, in fact, general law firms, and this year some areas, practice areas, are going to see a dip. That's what at least the economists say, and some of the areas are gonna grow by 3.4% or 2.2%, which isn't that great, I'd say, but it's largely because I think AI has disrupted the industry as well. And instead of now asking a lawyer if somebody gets into trouble, they usually go on AI and they're like, okay, let's talk about our problems with AI, and most of them then get stuck, right? Because they're gonna get really bad advice, and then obviously, but people are generally like, if you talk about a common man, right? They are very inclined towards getting help from AI, and that's something we, um, as lawyers, we need to tell people that this is not the right way, because AI would always would want to appease you. It's a yes man or a yes it, I think. So it's not gonna work, right? For these people. But we are in this world, and obviously because of the hype and everything else, we are stuck in this situation. So previously, what lawyers would do is just brand them, not brand them, just brand their practice in general. They do SEO, sometimes run Google ads. Um, but as we move forward, we are seeing more and more. Um, there's a greater vacuum that's been created, and we need to fill this vacuum by going on video or social posts more. But obviously, if people are gonna see you live, or maybe they see your face, you are advising, not really advising, but just helping out people. That would actually make a stronger connection. And because this stronger connection can help people build trust better, and they can contact you. So that's how you're gonna pass on this weird era where nobody knows what's gonna happen. And to be honest, I don't even know what's gonna happen. But I believe that once the dust is going to settle, things are gonna get better, because still, I think most of the people, in fact, a large majority of the people, though they're asking questions or believing in AI, but sooner or later they are going to learn, and things will go towards normal, where AI adoption would be something like, um, in our daily workflow as a tool rather than a replacement for lawyers or any other business function. So if we talk about lead generation, right, specifically. So when you're basically into the market, there are a couple of ways you can do it. Now, it really depends on what your goals are, right? So if you are into B2B selling, which means you're a lawyer or a business trying to sell to other businesses, then LinkedIn could be a good option, but that's not the only option. And the reason is that LinkedIn used to be extremely good because people would come there, share their experiences, and then they would actually want to do business there, right? But as we go forward in this age, I see a lot of LinkedIn posts are now AI spam. So you might have noticed that people are posting about their whole story of their dogs, how they fired people, how much money they made. So it's more of like a slop, you know, marketplace where you're buying slop or seeing slop with your time, right? So that's what's happening with LinkedIn. And I see this all the time. In fact, it's funny that one of my colleagues, she basically shared a tool. It's basically LinkedIn post generator, something like that. And you could literally just say um, that my dog pooped in the park and generate a story for LinkedIn, right? And that would actually generate the story that you see, that basically you won't believe what happened to me this yesterday. And then it would just generate the same content, right? In the same formatting, which everybody is doing. So it really, you don't really know who's basically telling you the truth on LinkedIn and who's basically telling you lies. And that's the problem with LinkedIn that's going on, right? But still it works because you can connect with the right people, and obviously you can DM them, but most of the time people would not reply to you even if they accept your connection. And I don't understand why they do it. Probably because they want to increase the number of connections they have. But their intent is not to build a relationship with you, right? And that's the real problem, because everybody right now sees LinkedIn as a place where they would just hang out for 15-20 minutes a day, see what other people are posting, get annoyed by that, and just sleep, right? And then comes the selling part, right? So LinkedIn was essentially designed or built for employees and employers to get connected and sort of create the space where it was easy for people to find people, because people would not lie on their resumes, and the LinkedIn was basically an online resume. But now it's a bragging machine, like I said, so you don't know what's real, what's not, right? And that is why the trust on the platform is going down as well. And I hardly use LinkedIn now to do any sort of lead generation. I try to just connect with people and see if there is somebody that I can DM. I tell them that this is what I do. I can help you with this. If you want it, that's great. But to build genuine relationships on LinkedIn, it's very, very hard, except for very few people. So I think the effort and time that you put in LinkedIn is not really worth it, specifically when it comes to law firms, because uh, everybody's just doing the same, right? Then there's a very popular platform, um, which I think still has some sort of originality left, but I think most of the people now are again using AI, and that is Reddit. And you'd find so many bots on Reddit that just find posts and just replies underneath the threads people create, and that really takes away the true essence of Reddit, because Reddit was a question answer platform, right? So you would post something as a question and people would answer it, and then you could build relationships. But Reddit was always something as an anonymous platform where obviously you can't pick your name, and if you have picked some weird, um, handle like I did back in the day, blacksmith something, and you cannot change it. So that's one of the biggest issues. But still on Reddit, one of the core things that you can do is build partnerships. And I think in this age and day, you need to work as a group of companies, and you don't necessarily have to own these companies, but I think you can really find people who are also looking for clients in the same space, right? So for example, I have had some really good partnerships with some law firms. um, Whoever comes to me for software development or marketing, I would ask them if they need a lawyer for their business or something like that, and I do refer them, right? So that's one thing I do, and that's also reciprocates from the other law firm that I partnered with. But I found these people through um, Reddit, and some of them I found them through my podcast. So this is one way you could do, and obviously there are certain streams where you can get a lot of B2C clients as well through partnerships and referrals. And I think that's still going really strong. Specifically, if you partner with a firm that deals with accountancy, you could partner with a firm that deals with tax and other, functional areas of a normal, human being, and they can obviously refer you as their partner. Plus, there are some Reddits where you can connect with a lot of people as well, because one of those Reddits which I regularly check is a direct to consumer one, which is legal advice. So obviously you can't give legal advice on that. It's basically not allowed, but you can still share your opinion. And a lot of people, if you are posting it in a helpful way, where you're explaining few things without providing any legal advice that bars you from that. So it's highly effective to get B2C clients from there, but it really, again, is a time intensive, and you need to put a lot of effort in thinking what you got to write, what you're not supposed to write. So that's one thing. Then there's specialized Reddits as well for family law, divorce attorneys. There are personal injury Reddits, but usually I think it works when people are in the research phase, and for some type of firms like personal injury, which have speed is the factor that is the highest, that's the most prominent factor that you look for, then it might not really convert for you. Then obviously you have, you know pay to win, and that's Google ads and Meta ads. I think for most of the firms, you need to understand that both platforms are very important depending on what you're going to do, right? So setting up the right tracking first on your website or whatever your landing page is, and then looking at taking that data and using the data to retarget people on Meta, because most of the time people would hang out either on Instagram, WhatsApp, or Facebook. And then obviously the age demographic, that's also something very important. But then you can't just ignore a Meta or Google entirely, because you need to have a strategy, right? So for Meta ads, obviously it captures the people who are unaware of your services. That's when you're targeting in a broad ad set where you want people to know about you or your law firm or company in general. And then you have to have a retargeting ad set where, or a campaign where, when people visit your website, they have shown some interest on your website, you should show them ads regularly so that they are prompted to take an action. And I think that should be the goal, right? But obviously it's a multi-step process. You can't expect, it's very rare that somebody sees you on Meta as a lawyer and then converts, but it's a journey, right? So let's suppose if somebody has seen you on Meta once through a video or a short that you posted, and you're basically advertising on it, and then they might go on your website, and then you retarget them, and then they keep on seeing you again and again. Finally, at one point they are going to convert. But you also need to have a large budget spent on Google Ads, because Google Ads generally help you capture the uh, people who are ready to buy. So it's very high intent, but obviously it's like in every market. I believe there are only 2 to 3% people who are looking to buy any service right now. So which means that the competition between you and other people, on the search page is intense, right? And that competition, you're fighting for only 2 to 3% of the whole demographic around you, and that makes it expensive, because obviously not everybody is going to come on your website and get converted or sign up a retainer. But it also depends that how well they know your firm. This is very important, and that is basically done through meta ads. As simple as that. You could use Google's own display ads, where your ads might be visible on different websites when people visit. But I think the most, if you talk about the highest awareness, that is obviously built from Meta in this day of age, at least, right? I don't know if there will be another platform soon. So, if in general, if you want customers today, you need to keep on running Meta ads at least for 30% of your budget. And then for 70% budget, you basically run Google ads, so that these people who now know you through Meta, they can identify you on Google and then convert, which is easier, right? So that's something which you guys need to do, but obviously it's a lot of money. You get clients soon, you get clients faster. I think it's one of the most, um, that's the fastest channel and most predictable channel as well, that you're gonna get clients this week or this month. And if you're really really hungry for clients, I think you should look for that. But again, it needs to have a proper strategy, a budget, and a general rule of thumb is that whatever your cost per acquisition is, if you know that, that's great. If you're basically into marketing for a long time, you'd probably know how much money you spend to acquire a customer. So you should have a budget of at least 3 to 4 times of the minimum cost per acquisition in your firm, right? So, for example, if it takes you to get a customer for, I think, $2,000, then you should actually have a budget of 8,000 at least, and maybe you could get away with six. But anything less than that would only, be very very difficult for you to get clients, because your budget is going to run out before you get even one client, and then you'll have no budget to spend anywhere else. So this is just a general rule of thumb, which obviously uh, s- you know you guys can apply and use. But then there is a lot of push from marketers to build organic channels, right? So there are two types, I think, for organic growth. One is organic social, which means all these social platforms, which does include LinkedIn as well, but it also includes Instagram, TikTok, I think some sort of YouTube shorts. That would be organic social, where people, when they are looking for something or just casually, browsing, or they're on social platforms, they might come across your post, and those posts should be attractive enough with the right headlines, the right SEO. A lot of people don't know, but social platforms are ever increasingly becoming more search oriented as well. So people do search about do things on social channels as well. And if you have done the right SEO for that, using the right keywords, and it's not really about keywords. It's about whether when they type a question on a social search, you have addressed that. But a lot of people miss out on this because they're generally posting generic stuff. Like they have a fixed headline, they have a fixed primary text, they have a fixed call to action, whatever, and then they just put it on a post and just post it on these channels. But that doesn't really work in long term, because when you look at the descriptions, they should be solving some sort of problem, and answering some questions which people are asking. And one of the tools that you could use to find what people are asking right now in your niche would be Answer the Public. It's a great tool. It's a very cheap tool as well. I think it's probably $12 a month, but it gives you some insights. And then obviously from there, you have different analytics channels within the social platforms, and you can see which posts are gaining momentum, and then you reiterate or build similar posts uh, over the week, right? Whereas one of the strategies that we use is that we post 5 times a week, and we make sure that we only post content which is gaining momentum. But then we leave 2 days a week to test out new things. It could be a carousel, it could be a new video, it could be a static post. It really depends on what we want to test, and then figure out if that test has worked or not, and then use if it has worked, then we bring out new content next week. So this is what we do generally, and that's one way of growing, right? But if you think that it's gonna give you clients on day one or day 10 or 1 month or 2 months, it's not really gonna do it unless you're really, really lucky. And on average, I believe growing a social channel will take you around anything between 6 months to 3 to 4 years, and that's a lot of time with no clients, right? So obviously, you should absolutely do this. But then again, I do not want people to put a lot of effort in social channels, because I believe that anything that you don't own ultimately would have a disastrous effect, because a change in algorithm, a change in, say, how the social channel wants to project you or a certain niche would hamper all your efforts, right? And you might not see traction if you're not posting there. So these channels want you to constantly post, and it leads to burnout. It leads to a lot of losses in general, because obviously you're spending money in paying some sort of editor. It could be a video editor, it could be a post editor, and obviously it's not free if you look at it. Even if you do it on your own, because your time is valuable, within that time you could make sales, or you could network with people. But if you spend that time on creating posts, that's not really going to work. And obviously you are somehow investing, right, your money into it. So that is something important to consider. And if you're thinking, oh, I can do this using Nano Banana too, or I could just ask GPT to generate some images and then I could post it. Believe it or not, AI generated stuff is something which, if you look at the whole scenario, people generally hate it, right? And now people are literally calling out people who generate a lot of stuff from AI, even if it's very realistic, right? They would catch that image and then they keep on posting that this is AI generated content. And it really, really affects your, I think, your projection as a brand, and your brand image gets diluted because now everybody is doing it, and you should have some sort of good editor to stand out. And that's the problem with the social organic, right? So that's why I generally don't like it. Then one of the great ways to get a lot of people listen to you and your point of view is to be a guest on a podcast, right? But choosing a podcast is quite difficult, and getting invited to the right podcasts are also difficult, right? For example, if you hop on a podcast which talks about, say, gaming, and you're a lawyer, then whatever you say in that podcast, it's not gonna get you clients, because those kids who play games, or even some adults who play games, are not within your ICP, right? So again, you're wasting time, even if it's for free, right? But generally, you might be able to find good podcasts which are within your niche, either it's legal, finance, e-commerce, whatever you do, right? And you could talk there, right? But obviously, people who are hosting podcasts like me, and I've just, reactivated my channel, I don't get a lot of views. But I do believe that even if I get 12, 20, 30, 40 views, those people should be within my ICP. Those should be engaged viewers. So that means that even if there's a podcast that doesn't generate thousand views, but the right people watch it, that could be more valuable than going on a podcast which talks about, say, knitting, and it gets like a million views, right? Because it's not going to help you at all. Then, obviously, in the market, I just learned from somebody, I think a couple of weeks ago, because I invited a lawyer on my podcast, and it's really funny that he said that, you know what, is it going to be paid? And I said, no, it's not going to be paid. Why would I charge you? So then I asked him, why did you ask me that question? He said that most of the people who invite me for the podcast, they want to charge per episode. And I said, right, so this is another business people are doing. So now for these podcasts, there might be some really good ones. I'm not against charging. I don't do it, but a lot of people do. And I think they have grown to a certain point that they want to qualify guests first and obviously earn some bucks out of it. And that's totally fine if they're upfront about it, right? But if you find a podcast which has the right ICP watching that podcast, the host is great, he lets you talk, and he wants to paint you as the, I think, trustworthy person, the having great expertise in your area, I think it's not bad to probably sign up. But then again, you need to figure out the return of investment. So let's suppose if you're being a guest and paying like a 500 bucks or 1,000 bucks to be on that podcast, and you gain a client who pays you 5,000, so that's 5x ROI, and that's great. Because one thing that I know for sure, that if these podcasts are being released on, say, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, these platforms people can actually search and they can recommend your podcast, whatever you talked about, to the right audience as well, which is a great thing, basically, right? Because down the line, if you paid somebody, say, $1,000 today, you might get a client maybe in next 3 months organically from these podcasts. Because if you realize yourself, you might watch or listen to a lot of podcasts, or you might see a lot of videos which were created like a couple of years ago, but then you feel like that I should contact this person because he's talking or he's solving the pain that I have right now. And I think that's a great way to build an organic audience. And then that's one thing that you could obviously use for your advantage, right? The other way of thinking about it is in terms of organic search, which I believe is the most important, I think, marketing platform or marketing, say, thing that you can do. So organic search would be obviously SEO that you do for your website. So it basically ranks on the first page somewhere, and you try to bring it to the first three search results, or you're working on your Google My Business if you're basically a local business or local law firm that only, um, or your main goal is to get clients from your local area. So these podcasts would greatly help because you just need to put the right schema of, it's very simple schema, who's the host, who's the guest, and stuff. And then either ask the host to put the whole content that was discussed within that podcast on their website, and then get a backlink from them, right? And alternatively, you could share that on your website as well as your social channels. So more people who are already following you could see that you know your stuff. This is basically something that's very important. And that again builds your authority. It takes time, but it's sort of a good push towards your SEO. And I think that is one way to look at it. That obviously if I'm investing today, I'm gonna get some clients maybe 6 months or 1 year later, but they're gonna keep on coming. That's the goal, right? The only thing that you guys need to think, right? I hardly get any views on my YouTube, right? Because I just started. And to be honest, it does affect me. It does affect me when I see that I just get 10 views. But then I get so many emails as well, right? Some are from people who want to improve my YouTube visibility, right? Some people are trying to sell me something. But to be very honest, within, like, I started my YouTube, I think probably from February mid or something, probably in the start of March. I don't exactly remember. But since then, I have gained one client, right, from my YouTube. And that's great because the amount of time and effort I've put in this, I believe it has converted. And that's what my goal was initially, right? To put my point of view, even if nobody's watching. But I realized that even if somebody who's searching for, say, data analytics, searching for how would they know which marketing channel is giving them the best ROI, how to optimize ads, how to optimize their data within their CRM. And if they find my content really good, obviously they might be inclined towards either checking my website or they could just contact me, right? So you have to make that easy for people. And it doesn't matter because there's a guy I met through YouTube. He has around, I think, 5K followers. On some videos, he gets like 200 views. On some videos, he gets like 10 views. And on some, he has got like 100K views, right? So he basically is a consultant who consults people in how to optimize their content through YouTube. And I booked a call, and he said something really good about this. He said that basically people who are chasing virality, or they want to be viral within days, it basically brings another sort of trauma, where he said, when I got viral, I started posting that viral content again and again, and I actually lost my original touch. And he said, when I track the performance of my viral content and my normal videos, which doesn't get a lot of views, and how many clients I got from the viral content versus the content that gets really little views, is quite different. Because he says most of my clients come from the videos which have the right storytelling. I'm actually solving some sort of problem for them, or I'm telling them how to grow your YouTube channel, rather than putting content like stop wasting $10,000, or you can't do this without these 4 steps, or use AI to because he says that people either come on YouTube for entertainment, or they come for buying something or learning something, right? So if you are a person who has an intent of helping others and build your business, YouTube is going to give you those clients. And if your intent is to become an influencer with thousands and thousands or millions of followers, that could work as well. But then be ready to not get clients. Be ready to have a mass appeal, right? And those are two different things. And that doesn't really, correlate. And I could resonate with him because I contacted him through a video which only had, I think, 10 views, right? I just found that video really useful, right? Because I was struggling with my own dilemma that my YouTube channel doesn't get a lot of views. What do I do? And he actually talked about it in that video, right? It was really, really helpful. And somehow YouTube just out of random, uh, showed me that video. So that's how it works. Finally, in fact, not finally, but there is obviously SEO, which a lot of people know about. And they also are getting bummed out by a lot of people who tell them that SEO has changed. It doesn't work anymore because AI is here. Now you have to optimize for GEO, which is generative engine optimization, or answer engine optimization, AEO, or AIO. And there's so many words, right, for that. And some agencies that I find really, amusing, they're actually charging normal SEO and then upselling GEO, which actually is the same thing because SEO was always about, putting out helpful content or great content on your website, right? And then going back to your Google Search Console, see what people are searching for, optimizing the keywords you'd get from there. See if this keyword is too difficult, what would be the long tail one, and then optimize that within your content. And that's how people used to do it. But because previously in 2016, 17, 18, people used to stuff a lot of keywords people would search for. And at that time, Google was a little bit lenient about it because they were trying to optimize it for Google crawlers rather than readers. But as Google has shifted from, bots to humans, the content has now become the king. If your website doesn't have great content which engages the user, which keeps you or keeps the user on your website for a longer time, and make sure that the user then navigates to different pages, Google is going to rank you better than your competitors who are just stuffing keywords. And that's the whole point of it. Now, when somebody is asking a question from an LLM, right, they're basically finding information. And LLMs quote information which is different, unique, and obviously that holds some truth, right? And that it basically goes on your website, steals all your information, and then quotes it. So, which means the information that the LLM quotes is coming from your own website and could be the ones that mostly informational keywords. So you got to put a lot of content. That's a no-brainer, right? And really helpful, unique content. And write the content in a way where it answers, questions. So if somebody asks that what is the average cost of filing for a slip and fall petition, right? So if that content is on your website and it's really, really nicely written with in-depth question and answers, obviously that's what GEO or AEO is. It has nothing to do with, it's not different from SEO. And this is exactly what great SEO leads or strategists would do back in the day as well. So people who are charging it for as a separate service are just trying to scam you. It's not a separate service. It has always been there. It will always be like this, right? So why SEO is important? Because when you start with your SEO, you got to start as soon as you build your website. That's something you should do. Even if you do not have cash, but SEO is not, the basics of SEO is like very simple to learn. And to be honest, you could just simply go on YouTube, watch a video, and start on your own website today. The real bottleneck comes because it's again time intensive work. Because once you have written the content or asked somebody to write it, now you need to build the authority of the website. And one of the best ways is to get links from already authoritative websites. For lawyers, it's pretty easy as well because you are already, linked to a certain directory. You have your citation somewhere. You were published, maybe in your school exam, or maybe your thesis was published, whatever you have done. You could actually just put the link of your website on those pages. It could be an ORG website, it could be a government website, it could be a bar website, whatever, right? Or a very, very good directory. And there are specialized directories which you can simply, as a lawyer, sign up. You don't have to pay for those. So you can start building some links from there. But then when you start getting overwhelmed by, cold outreach, where you ask people for a backlink, obviously you need to email or build relationships through LinkedIn or whatever you do. That could be delegated to an SEO agency, right? And if you're not technical enough, where your site speed is not up to the mark, maybe the conversion is not happening, the traffic is there, then obviously you need to talk to a specialized agency, which is obviously working in conversion optimization, because they have their experience and they can help you optimize that. So doing basic SEO is not hard, right? But obviously, again, you could always think about it in terms that it's going to have a compounding effect. So the sooner you start, the better it is for you, because time passes really quickly, right? I'm 36 years old and I don't remember my life. I just remember how quickly it passed. I don't remember how slow it passed. Honestly, nobody does, right? And when you start your law firm, when you start your business, you start doing your SEO because it will have a compounding effect. Maybe by 12th month, you will have a consistent lead flow, and that's what you want to do. You want to make sure you get something out of it, and it's one of the best ROI, uh, strategies that you could implement from today, right? So starting early, SEO early is very, very important. Then obviously there are certain there is another way which a lot of people don't know about, and some people are really burnt by these people, and these are called the lead generators, right? So interestingly, I get a lot of emails from lead generators who say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to handle your lead generation, and what you need to do is you only pay when you get a lead, right? Now if you ask them that how will you generate leads for me, 95% of these people are generating leads through email marketing, right? They would say we are going to set up instantly or Snov, and then we're gonna get emails from Apollo or Zoom Info or whatever their channels is, right? Or and then they're gonna run a campaign, and then when somebody replies, they're gonna set that, and then normally they would tell you that this is you only pay for the lead that you're gonna get, but then once you hop on the call, they're gonna say no, 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 you gotta put a infrastructure money, which is could be around from anywhere from $200 to $1,000. Really depends on the type of agency and how they can, how well they can persuade you into getting into this. But trust me, if they're doing it for so many people and they are not, a specialized agency in law firm, they're not going to understand your pain, your ICP, and they're going to burn your domains. They're going to burn your infrastructure money, buying email accounts and then just putting them in spam and then blacklisting them. It's not going to help you, honestly. So you could literally do it on your own. It's not a big deal. You can hire a VA and get it done. So email marketing is not a big deal. And nowadays, the email marketing is, I think, more spam rather than it's really hard to stand out in that, right? And not many people really read emails, specifically from unknown senders. So even if they do, they don't take action. So that's one of the issues, right? They get annoyed fast. They mark it as spam, and it kind of, I think, puts you in a negative light in terms of branding. So I don't just agree with that, right? I don't find that channel very promising. Then there are lead generators who are going to say you are going to get leads directly. You don't, invest in email marketing. We're just going to send you leads, right? Now, when you ask them and you ask them how would you generate leads, they would tell you something very important. They're going to say, what you're going to do is you have to pay a certain amount initially for the setup, and then you got to get the leads through an SMS or an email, right? And most of them are really, really shitty actors. I'll tell you this, right? Why? Because Suppose they, even if they're doing genuine work, what they'll do is, suppose there's a lead, right? That leads that lead has posted somewhere, say on Reddit or whatever, right? Or any forum that they need help with XYZ, maybe divorce or personal injury case, or maybe business transaction or estate planning, probate, whatever, right? They're gonna talk to that lead, maybe call them, whatever, qualify them a little bit, and then they're gonna send that lead to 10 companies that they're working with, or 10 law firms they're working with, right? And when you call that person up, he says, please don't call me, I've already signed up. That's what's going to happen. And the reason is that they have sent it to 10 people, right? And the person who has contacted them first, obviously they're going to talk to them. So they would charge you per lead. They say, okay, this was a qualified lead because we sent it to you. You were too slow to contact them. You were too slow. And that's the problem, right? With these lead generators, that they are working with multiple law firms. They're charging uh, from 50 to 150 per lead, but that's not exclusively yours. That's basically shared between so many firms, and they just rely on who's going to contact that first, right? That lead first. And that is the biggest problem. The only, I think, lead generators who are useful to you is if they say you're going to get a call transferred and you will be the only person talking to them. But those leads are expensive, right? Because they don't make a lot of money out of it. So suppose there's an exclusive lead and you know that to acquire a customer, you have to spend $2,000, right? And they say this lead is exclusively yours and you will get a call and then you have to sell them, right? Yourself. Now, good lead generators would warm them enough so that it's easy for you to sell because you will be the closer and the lead generators would be the outbound callers. So they'll cold call them, warm them up, send it to you. Now you need to close. That's fine. But then you need to see the ROI. So let's suppose they send 4 leads, they're going to charge you $2,000. And you could you don't close any of those, so $2,000 are wasted, right? But if your sales team is good and you can actually close people, that means they book a retainer worth $5,000 with you, and out of 4 leads they sent you, you book 2, which means now you paid only 1,000 to them, but you gained 10,000, which is a great ROI, to be very honest, right? It's 10x. And I believe this is a kind of these lead generators which are rare to find, who have the right people on their lists, who know how to cold call, who know how to warm up those B2C or B2B customers, and then get you connected. But then again, it's very, very hard to trust people, right? And it depends on what kind of guarantees they're giving and how well they explain it to you. And yeah, so that could really work, right? If you really need leads now, but you got to spend some money, but the gain is much greater. And I know a lot of law firms, I know a lot of companies, specifically in local businesses, which do this, right? And you could definitely try that out. It's something that works for people. So that would be, my understanding. Maybe I've missed some channel, and I'd love if you know anything that I don't know. I'm always, willing to learn, and that's my main purpose as well, to learn more than I teach. And if you have some channels that I don't know, you could always share that to me. I'll research into it, and my future videos, I'd love to, put it. So I honestly love everybody who watches this channel. I really, really appreciate that you take your time out to see my videos, watch my videos, and it helps me gain confidence. It helps me build a community, and I think that for a small creator is the biggest win. So thank you for being here. Thank you for following my channel. Thank you for subscribing. And to be very honest, it's a big ask. But if you like what I post, please do share it with people around you who might also benefit from my content. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week live again.